their bedroom, like back. I don't think I told you. Well, you knew.
I do.
Their bedroom backed up to my bedroom. I heard everything. Everything. Yeah, it was like- Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Forever Counting Love here. My name is Anthony,
I'm Serena.
and today we are talking something different. We actually had conversation. Was it last week?
Yeah.
Or we were out on a walk, and we just kind of joking around, and we pulled up on our phone like marriage
Miss.
myths, and actually some of them were kind of funny, but then some of them were kind of serious, and like, are you serious? Like, that kind of serious, and then kind of got us talking about certain stuff, and like there was a couple like I remember we were reading about, and I said, well, of course, and you're like, no, I'm like, oh, here we go. So we thought it might be a good idea to maybe do something like this on here,
See what you guys think.
see what you guys think, but if you know of any that we don't know about, let us know down below, and yeah, I guess we could just jump right in.
Sure.
You want to start? Pick one. We found, we were just kind of messing around on the internet. We found a whole
Anthony's
bunch of
new
them.
favorite thing is GB chat TV. I don't even know what it is.
Chat GPT.
I'm sorry.
They know. And and I just printed off like a whole bunch of them, and we're just gonna kind of go through, because if we did all of them, we'd be here for like hours. So, what you got, love?
Marriage will fix my personal problems. No, it won't.
You have a bunch of personal problems.
I have a lot of personal problems.
So do I.
I came with a lot of baggage. A lot of
I
baggage.
feel like I carry some of that baggage though, of yours.
Sometimes.
That's the way it goes.
I came from a divorced family, but I also came from an alcoholic and a narcissist. So, and I'm the oldest.
Am I kind of almost the same?
Kind of, but you were sheltered a lot more.
Divorced.
Right. But your family didn't fight in front of you.
Yeah.
Your family held, like, when I say sheltered, Anthony wasn't a sheltered child, but his mom and dad didn't fight in front of them. They kept everything behind closed doors, where my parents used me as a pawn in everything. Like, I knew everything that was going on at a young age. I probably shouldn't have known. I learned to drive when I was 10 because I had to drive my dad home from bars. Like, it was really bad. So you didn't, yes, you come from that also, but it's in not the extreme where mine was. So but because of me being how I grew up, I was also a very much a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make my mom happy or make my dad happy or make anybody and everybody happy. So I took on a lot of responsibilities that I shouldn't have taken on.
Do you feel like you still trying to make them happy?
Not no more.
Yeah. That was quick. When you talked about, like, my parents would fight behind closed doors, and they would literally, it was, and like their bedroom, like back, I don't think I told you, well, you knew.
I do.
Their bedroom backed up to my bedroom. I heard everything. Everything. Yeah, it was like- yeah, good and bad, but yeah, it just um
I didn't have that problem.
yeah, I would hear, the conversations I would hear in these walls behind, through the walls, was just like, some of them I didn't understand because I was too young.
Too young.
But then sometimes they're talking about, you know, paying this and paying that, or, what are we going to do for vacation, or what are we going to do for Anthony's birthday, or what are we going to do for Christmas, stuff like that, just,
See, mine was just, it was out there in the open.
Yeah.
It was everybody is going to hear it. We had the cops at our house all the time. Um,
I could say that we never had cops at our house.
oh no, we had the
That's
cops at our house, but my dad literally, we didn't stay. So my mom and dad got a divorce when I was 7, but they lived together off and on until I was 13, and then she moved to Florida. But my dad would move every year to a new house so that and he wouldn't tell my mom where we were at. And so we would start a new school every year. Um, but then it would take her a year to or 6 months to try to find out where we were. And so,
I
and
couldn't imagine that.
then when she find out where we were, then she would start coming over, and then it would all start all over again. And then, she would leave. We'd get on the school bus one morning. This every year, we'd get on the school bus one morning and she would be there and she would put us on the bus. We'd get off the school bus that afternoon and she wouldn't be there. She'd be gone. And, nobody knew where she was. And we wouldn't see her for 6 months, 7 months. And every time she came back, me and my sister got a new doll.
I remember I never seen like mom and dad. We're totally not answering this question, but yeah, never really seen mom and dad fight in front of us. But I remember one time. I think dad probably told the story to you. One year, I don't know if it was like an anniversary or birthday or something. Dad bought mom that Ethan Allen table and chairs.
Which we have.
And I mean, if you've never heard of Ethan Allen, or it's a pretty,
It's a solid oak table
yeah.
and like 8 captain chairs, and it's a beautiful table.
So the table kind of, mom and dad divorced, and the table kind of jumped around for a little. Did dad have it, or did my sister have it, or
No, Dad had it.
I remember Ann had it for a while, didn't she?
No,
I can't.
she
Anyway,
got mad because
anyway,
anyway.
so we have the table, and
But not to talk bad about Dad. There's a reason we have the
so
table.
we're getting too far out of this, but anyway, so he buys this table, and it um, awesome table, and as a kid you're like, huh, cool table, but to her that was like
The best thing in
the
the whole
coolest
wide
thing in
world.
the world, and I remember my grandparents had come down from Michigan, and which was weird. Like they came down, not that they came down, but they came to visit from Michigan to Florida, and we went to a Detroit Tigers game, baseball game in Florida. It was weird. But anyway, so we came back. This is like before like cell phones and everything, so we didn't know. But we came home, and I want to say half of the house, but basically like the kitchen, live or dining room was just like caught on fire. It just, that table. And so basically there was newspapers and stuff.
Cigarette
My
ashtrays
my grandparents smoked, and there was ashtrays and the candle and whatever, anything. Anyway, and there was like a window
right
right
there.
there, and I think the window was cracked, and the wind came in, and boom,
Probably because your
yeah,
mom and dad don't smoke, and
yeah.
so they probably had the window cracked.
So basically, it caught the table on, got the newspaper, then caught the table on fire, then went up the drapes, hit the roof, and just came back down. And and our little schnauzer we had, he was in the house the whole time. He didn't die, but after that, he just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
But anyway, the table was like damaged, like done, and so they sent it to whoever to get fixed. Supposedly the insurance company was going to pay for it. The story's going long, and someone came out and they picked up the table, and I think the chairs were okay. Two of the chairs had to be
It was
fixed. I think
just the top of
the
the
top of the table,
table.
yeah, and because like the table is like so thick. If it would have been like a regular table, the house would have burned down.
Oh yeah.
But so you know, Dad sent it to some place, to get repaired and you know refurbished, I guess you say. And he said, I remember he told me he's like because mom and dad they worked in Tampa, and we lived like probably an
About an hour away.
15
Yeah.
north of Tampa. So that was a good commute every single day. And the table was in like St. Pete, and we lived like then it was like we lived in the woods, and I remember they came like they called and like, hey, we're going to be delivering this table tonight, when are you guys going to be home, and blah blah blah, and so we had to get home, and they came, they were there when we got home, and they brought the table inside, and I remember it because I was sitting there, and like it's like, oh cool, the table's coming back. By that time, like the house had been repaired and everything, like that's all we needed left was like the
The
table.
table.
And they brought the table in, and it was all wrapped up and everything, and they unwrapped it, and mom like flipped out, man. It was like it literally looked like, you know they unwrapped it, and it's like a, you said like an oak,
Hmm.
and like what's the
It's like a,
glossy shine? I
yeah,
can't think of the word, but anyway, it's like a smooth finish, and it literally looked like somebody just like whipped a chain and just like,
that's what Dad
and
said.
and that's what it looked like, and then just like, that's not what this table is supposed to look. It literally looked like somebody just like whipped the chain on it,
Yeah.
and mom was like, no, and she just like ran to the bedroom because that was like her prize. One of her prize things was that table. And I remember, dad walked back there, and I'm standing there with these two like delivery guys because like they can't, like
They
you got
can't leave.
you got to sign for it, and nobody signed the paper, and mom and dad are in the back, and you could hear them. And then dad came out, and he's like, I'm sorry guys, you're gonna have to take this table out of here. He's like, yeah, we're not. So they loaded the table, and they had to go all the way back to St. Pete, which is like probably what,
3 hours
yeah, back to go,
south
and
of
it's already
us.
dark outside. These guys were probably so mad. And when they went to leave, they got stuck in the driveway, and it was just like, it was a big ordeal. But
That table, from what I've heard, that table came back three
oh
times.
yeah, and
And
finally,
every
like
time it came back, it was something else was
something,
wrong
and I
with that
think
bed.
I think after the last time it came back, it was just like, this table's never going to be just whatever, just sign for
And
it.
it looks nice now.
The table's
It's,
freaking old.
yeah, it looks like it. You can still see some indentations where they tried to fill it back in,
Yeah, it just
and it looks nice now. Back then, what they sent it to somebody to try to refurbish it. Nowadays, what they would have done, they would have sent it back to Ethan Allen.
yeah.
Ethan Allen would have just sent them a replacement table,
Mhm.
and that would have been the end of it. Like she would have just got a whole new table.
That's crazy. But anyway, so yeah, fighting in front of each other.
But to answer the question, um, marriage will fix your personal problems. It won't. If anything, it's going to put strain because all of my baggage and all of my personal problems put strain on mine and Anthony's relationship for a long time
Still does from time to time.
because I put my personal problems and my parents and on all of their crap on top of in front of Anthony. I had to work through all of my personal problems before, and now our marriage is better for it. Wouldn't you say?
Of course.
It's stronger, you know. So, no, if you have personal problems, you need to work them out and then work on your marriage. I took a long way to get around to that answer.
That's one of them. This is the one that we kind of laughed about a little bit. Uh, your spouse should meet all your emotional needs.
No.
No person. This is. I'm just reading what this says. It says no one person can do it all. Outside support matters. True. I never really thought I had any kind of like, I don't want to say emotional, but
Mhm.
problems until like, I don't know, maybe like the last 3 or 4 years, and I tell Serena all the time, it's like, I don't know, think I could do a lot of this stuff by myself, or maybe it's like I don't want to do this stuff by myself, and you know, and that's why I lean on her for a lot. And like I told you before, so it's like, you know, and you know, I feel like me, I don't say dumping my problems on you. I feel like I can't keep going to you for everything because eventually you're going to be like, enough, just like,
But that's, I mean, but that's one thing a marriage is, though, is helping each other through personal problems and through emotional things, you know. So it's that borderline. You have to find that balance. So,
oh, you do one. I'm sorry.
oh,
Just going to go and do another one.
that's fine. Um, Having kids will bring you closer.
I think I don't know. I remember we knew a couple that I think like their thought of having kids were gonna make them happier, and that didn't happen. They done divorced, and
I think that if your marriage isn't good before you have kids, it's just not going to be good after you have kids.
yeah, just
Because kids are a lot.
stay together for the kids.
No, never.
That's I
That
think
was mine.
that was I was gonna say I think that's what mom and dad did for I don't know how long. Like, well, same thing with you.
Stay
Mom
together
would leave,
together.
she would come back, she would leave again, she would come back, she would leave. Then dad was like, okay, we're done with this.
Can't keep doing this. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they tried to for
Stay
us to
together
make
for your
until
kids.
we were older. I think it probably would have been a whole lot worse if they did stay together. It would have been like for the kids, like me and my sister, I'd have been like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. I'm
And
going
that's how
nuts.
it was with us. It
Yeah.
was just, we can't keep, like, I would so much rather, like, you guys to be apart and then be under one house and fight constantly. Like, I just couldn't. I would have much rather grown up going to visit my mom on this day or going, whatever, than I remember
Oh,
I had this conversation with your sister when when she was going through whatever she was going through with her Alyssa's dad. And she was like, well, I want her to grow up in a family and blah, blah, blah. I said, she's so young right now that her family is whatever you make it.
yeah.
If you make it that her family is,
That's all she
she goes
knows.
to her daddy's on this week and she gets to spend 2 weeks with her daddy and then she comes home and she gets to spend 2 weeks with her mommy and then and that's all she knows. That's her family, and she'll never want anything different because that's what she knows. But if you stay together and you two fight all the time, and then she's going to be miserable. I tried to explain that, and I think that's what I mean. She did do that for
Yeah.
her. So
Remember, you said you kind of had that, like, going to, you lived with your dad, and then, like, from time to time, you'd have to go
stay with my
stay with
mom.
mom. And I remember, like, when mom and dad split up, and I guess they thought that was the right thing. I stayed with dad, my sister stayed with mom, and that was that. Then on the times where like I had to go stay at mom's for the weekend, I was like, I don't want to do this. This is terrible. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't have my friends. There's nothing for me to do. Her boyfriend's a butthead. I just want to do my own thing. Anthony, you got to go stay with your mom. Go see your mom. And I remember calling him like, Dad, just come get me. This is like, because yeah, and later when you get older, you understand like mom just had to do what she had to do. But I would go there on the weekends, and she would have to go to work on Saturday. She had a Monday through Friday, she had like 8 to 5, 9 to 5 job or whatever it was. But on Saturday, she would pick up some overtime, and now I'm older, I get it,
But
and
see
then
now,
she would leave, and I would be at the house, her little apartment, by myself until like 2 or 3, which is kind of better off just to be by yourself. But it's just like there's no video games, there's no cable, I don't know anybody. What am I doing here? This place sucks,
but see now, see where Anthony says, now that I'm older, I get her doing that, her
Yeah.
having to work. Me, I'm sitting here thinking, and even I even told you, Money is one thing, and your mom would have always made money,
Oh yeah,
always.
true.
But the weekends and that time spent with you,
And that's what I thought too. It's like,
that would
couldn't
have
she do
been,
this when
yep,
I'm not here? But
that,
then my sister's there, and she's younger. My sister's younger than me, so it's like, do I want to leave, Anthony by himself, or leave my sister by herself?
but see, I don't know.
Uh,
Me personally, I would have been, it's more about the time and the memories.
yeah,
Like, I would have much rather had the time and the memories than the money. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, that's me personally. See, mine was different. When I came to stay with mom, we lived in Tennessee and we had to come down here to Florida. So mom would work. We would stay down here for a month. So she was a waitress. So she would work early in the morning and then come home late at, or in that afternoon or whatever. And then we would go and do things.
Mm.
Like she made it so that we did things and she spent time with
It's not
us. And
like we didn't do
no,
things,
no, I understand, but I guess mine was different. So
Oh
I
yeah,
wanted to go and spend time with my
yeah,
mom.
yeah. Well,
You
yeah,
know,
because you're a little girl, you want your mom,
this is true. I did until I found out.
and you still do.
No, I
Well, you know what I mean.
don't.
I kind of didn't understand this one, but I kind of do. Good couples don't change too much over time.
That's a false thing.
It says people will change through aging, life stages, trauma, and learning. A lot of learning. A strong marriage adapts, which I believe,
And grows together.
grieves, grieves losses, and celebrates evolution rather than resisting it.
Hmm. I think you grow together. Like you can't, it's hard if like one person grows and the other one stays. You have to grow together. And in the beginning, a lot of that was that with us. Like I had a lot of personal problems and I was trying to work through them. And in that, it was trying to find out who I was. I didn't have that growing up. I didn't have somebody to show me and teach me who I was and all of that. Anthony did. He already knew who he was. So that was a lot of problems for us because I didn't know who I was and I was trying to find out. I had to grow up really fast.
Mm.
So I also was,
We would have like our, like I want to say, you're trying to figure out who you were. Like we had stages where we, you know, I want to say argued and fought a lot. Like for instance, one time when Serena decided she wants to go to New York with her friend, and money, not
the
so
trip
good.
was paid for.
Money, not so good.
Let me clarify. My friend won a trip
Yeah, true.
to New York City, all expenses paid for. We got to see the band that we
Mm.
absolutely loved.
But there's going to be sacrifices. I felt like I was the one sacrificing the most, because well, I remember it was like the one day is like, well, the kids obviously you had to. It kind of fell on my days off, that was cool. I hang out with the kids, whatever, that's fine. But then it was, there wasn't nothing to do, because there was no money, and then someone stole your phone, it's just like it just like and like which didn't make sense. Like we're yelling at each other on the phone thousands of miles away. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. Boop, hang up. And it was like, figure out how to get home,
Well, I know how I was going to
Yeah,
get home.
But me, I'm like, you know what? You can figure out how to get home. And I'm like, and like our friends that she went with, like he literally lived right across the street. And I think I was supposed to go pick you guys up from the airport or something. I can't remember. And I was just like, yeah, I'm not, if you want to go get them, I'm not going down there. And he's like, I'll just call her mom, So I think her mom came and
Yeah.
got you guys, and I'm like, I'm not going, But it was just that was, That was interesting.
But for me, that was a trip of of a
Yeah,
lifetime
you
because I'll never get to go to New York City again. And I got to
well,
go to
you don't know that, but
I do know that.
no,
You don't like
I
crowds.
want to go do
See?
that.
So to me, that was a trip of a lifetime
But
for me.
later, it took me a while. I was like, she's trying to figure herself out. I'm like, you're almost 30 years old. It's time to.
But I
You
didn't
didn't.
know.
It's time to figure. You got to figure. You this. Sorry, you're a mom. That's what you're supposed to do. Just you know.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
But then see, here I
But
was
then you got
somebody,
home, and I was like ecstatic for you to be
yeah.
home.
But then here I am, somebody who doesn't know who I am. Like I didn't know who Serena was.
Mhm.
And I went from not knowing who I am to being Anthony's wife, to being Ty's mom, to being Taylor's mom, to being like, and still not knowing who I was. And so I got to be all these other people. And then it was like, but wait, I like going to concerts. I like doing this. I like doing this. I like doing this. And it was things that weren't Anthony's wife, Ty's mom. And so it was a lot of finding out. Like I remember one time I had a certain group of girlfriends who would who would go to concerts.
Oh, this isn't the one.
No.
Okay.
And and I always made sure we always had two cars. We've always had two cars. Not now, but we've always had two cars. And I made sure that when we went to this concert, I didn't drive.
Hmm.
And so we're in Orlando and we're seeing POD and Evanescence. And so we get inside and Anthony calls me and he's like, Taylor's crying and I can't get her to stop and you're going to have to come home.
The kid cried forever.
And I was like, I can't, I didn't bring the car. Like I rode with whoever. And he's like, well, then just tell them that you're coming home. And I'm like, no. And I remember going, no, figure it out. And you were like, but she's and I went, nope, she's our responsibility. Figure it out. And I hung the phone up and I put the phone in my pocket and I turned the phone off and put it in my pocket. Concerts last 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever it was. I remember when the concert was over, I turned my phone back on and there was like 50 missed calls. He was mad, but it was something that Anthony had to do. Like you had to figure it out.
Yeah, I know.
And Anthony was really, I mean, in the
You
beginning,
weren't gonna come home and do anything different than what I'm doing.
no,
Just
but in the beginning,
you got the magic touch, I hope.
our roles were very laid out. Anthony went to work and made the money and came home, played his video games, ate his dinner, and that was his roles. I stayed home. I took care of the house. I took care of the girls. That was my role. And that was very laid out, which was fine. And I was the disciplinarian and Anthony was the good dad or the fun dad.
Yeah.
The girls still, to this day, the girls are 28 to 18 and they still know that if they want something and and they know that I'm going to be like, well, I really don't know, maybe not. They come to Anthony, Daddy, I need you to go talk to mom and I need you to do this because they
Not
know
all the
he
time.
will.
Sometimes I'll be like, did you talk to mom? Yeah. Well, sorry, there ain't nothing. I'm not going down that road.
They still will do it though. And in the beginning, that was how it was. I think it wasn't literally, and I love Anthony, but I don't think it changed until Trinity.
Maybe.
Because with Trinity, a lot of things changed in our relationship. And I don't think it was until Trinity that you took a more active role with Trinity. You took a lot, like, it was more, not not that you weren't the fun dad with Trini, because you were, but you were more the disciplinarian and I was more the roles switched a little. I mean, I was still the caretaker with Trinity, but I think the roles just swapped a little, you know? And it wasn't until then. So I think the kids will bring you closer, but they will also put a lot of strain on you.
What do you think? You want to try one more?
We got two, yeah.
Mm, maybe we should have marked off like what we talked about. Oh, happy couples do everything together.
I like to go to concerts.
They're okay if you can sit in the back.
No.
I mean, I wouldn't mind going to some, but I don't want to get. I don't need to get down in the trenches.
Yes, we do.
Too old for that.
No.
It's hard enough getting out of bed sometimes.
Anthony likes to go to car shows.
Yeah,
They're okay.
yeah. But then you hear lately, well, for instance, yesterday there was a car show at the fairgrounds.
Was there?
Yeah,
Oh,
I was too dang tired.
you worked
Why?
overnight.
Worked overnight. Why? You need some extra money. You do what you got to do. But anyway, it's like, and that's why we had this discussion a while back, and just, you know, well, I told you that some people from work were going to go play golf,
And I said, have fun.
and I was all cool about it, but then like the day before, like the morning of, I was just like, you know what, I don't want to do this.
And I'm like,
I'd rather you
leave.
just go with me, Yeah. But then, I went and, I had a good time,
Mhm.
but then there again, like the old fishing trip, I wanted you to go. Oh, no, no wives. Then all of a sudden, Serena's the only wife that didn't go. Then I was like, what the hell? Well, not the only one, but I just like, that was, I just wanted you to go to experience that with me because, how often do you get to go on like a freaking yacht to go fishing, like deep sea fishing? Not too often. That doesn't happen every
Yeah.
weekend, you know, yeah,
But Anthony went fishing and I stayed home.
yeah.
Stayed in the bed and watched movies that Anthony wouldn't
Got a little
watch.
seasick, I didn't throw up, just didn't feel great. We're just gonna lay here and directly look at this wall for an hour, and I'll be okay.
But then he went out on the boat.
But then we still do stuff together,
Hmm.
and it's kind of weird. Like Serena loves to go camping, and I enjoy going. Then I had thoughts myself as like, I wonder how it would be to go camping by yourself.
I would love it.
Yeah,
I mean, no, I mean,
I probably would enjoy it once everything was set up. Sometimes I have a hard time getting the tent put together,
but see, that's it, though.
and it's
See,
getting dark, and you're getting nervous. Like, oh,
but see, that's it. That's the people pleaser in me, though, because I go while Anthony is at work and set everything up. I set the whole campsite up, and when he gets there, it's all ready for him.
Mm.
So he would be like, how do I put this together? What do I do? But me, I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's it.
Yeah, that was a fiasco. Like we went camping a while back and like after working like 12, 13 hours, I went directly to the campsite and started doing all this stuff. My back is sore. I'm trying to do this and that. And I'm like, this is terrible. And all it was Serena always sets up campsite. I'm going to do it this time for her. And then
And I kept going, just let me do it. Just let me do it.
Yeah, you end up doing most of it when you got back. I told myself, like, she went to go do something. I said, by the time she goes back, I'm gonna have the tent up. I'm gonna have the fire going. Tent was laying on the ground. The fire was smoking, and me getting mad.
I go in, I put the tent together, I get the fire going, I set the things around, the chairs around the thing, and I get my book And I sit down and he goes, "What are you doing?" "Uh, this is camping. See,
Camping.
see the fire, the chair, the book. Venus.
Would you want to go do that by yourself?
Maybe. Like the first night, I think I'd be okay. Then
Sleeping out there by yourself? I would be more nervous for you. You know, just like, man, I hope she's okay. You sure you don't want to bring the gun? You know,
no.
you want to bring some mace? You want to bring pepper spray? How about this bat? You know, I would be nervous for you. I probably wouldn't sleep that much. You know, I'd probably rent the campsite across from you to make sure you're okay.
I think that would be a cool video, just to do something by ourselves. Yeah, Anthony's in here already having a panic attack.
Like I said, I would be nervous for you. You know, if you were nervous and scared for it, then you'd be like, "Hey, you got to get here," and I would be right there.
Yeah. We don't camp far from the house
Yeah.
because of the I mean, yeah, the girls are 18 to 28, but
So, I mean, answering the question, I mean, happy couples do everything together.
no,
Independence, strength. I can't even say strengthen
strengthens.
connection.
Yes. But now I will say Anthony was a gamer. I wanted to spend time with him, so I learned to game. Now I love to game. Um, Anthony's dad tried to teach me golf. Like he tried to teach me how to play golf because Anthony taught was going to teach me one time and he yelled at me. And I was like, "Yep, I'm done. I'm not doing this no more."
We finally got you some clubs.
Dad tried to teach me and I learned how to hold the golf club and swing the golf club. So now Anthony goes out and he hits range balls, and every
It's been
once
a
in a
while.
while
It's been a while.
he'll be like, "Here, hit these balls," and he's gotten better about not yelling at me when I do things. So I found some golf shoes because I'm not a
That's
hundred
right. I forgot
percent
about the shoes. Dang, yeah, I forgot about them.
I'm not 100% committed yet,
Yeah, yeah.
like Anthony. So I
If
found,
I was 100% committed, I'd be out there every weekend. And
but I found shoes at a thrift store.
yeah,
Anthony has nice golf shoes.
yeah. How many times have I worn them? Zero. Anyway,
And
go on.
I found golf clubs at a yard sale that
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if
Oh,
they're good for me.
mine are like hand me downs, you know?
And so, um, but we'll see how it is.
Yeah.
I think I mainly just want to wear the little the little skirts
They'll
and
be
the
all right.
little visors.
You don't have to do that on the golf course.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
You know. But the first time he yells at me,
I keep
I'm gonna
making
be done.
excuses about going. You know, yeah, ever since I fell out of the freaking work truck at work and I got hurt. Ever since then, I just keep making excuses about going because, like, I consider him a good friend. I work with. He keeps telling me, he's like, dude, we got to go back out and play, man. What are you waiting for? He wants me to join this league that he's on, and it's like, oh man, I don't. I can embarrass myself in front of my wife. I don't need to do it in front of a bunch of guys, in the privacy of our own home. I need to do it in public, But I don't know. I think we've talked a lot.
I think the best advice to give someone when they're getting married is don't take advice.
Do your own thing.
Marry your
Figure it out.
friend. I will give one piece of advice.
Oh,
Make sure you like them.
yeah, that kind of helps.
You can love them. I love Anthony. Don't get me wrong. I love Anthony, but I like him so much more to the point where I want to hang out with you. I want to do things with you because I like hanging out with him. He makes me laugh and he makes me cry and whatever. But I like hanging out with Anthony.
You would like for me to get you a cup of coffee?
I just finished one.
Would you like to revisit this?
Sure.
Yeah. So we'll find some more. We'll do some more. Um, if there's any that you myths that you know of, let us know down
Let us know.
below, and we can try to we'll throw that in the video. But I think we've talked about a lot, and yeah. What do you think? How'd it go? Cool?
Good.
Cool. Good.
Good.
All right, guys. Are we done?
We're done.
All right, guys. Until our next video, we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Bye.